So you have to excuse me, I'm getting just set up here. This is a continuation of the so-called fictional story, but for entertainment purposes only, I guess. The world has been a fictional world, and the people around you weren't just neglectful. These people were programmed by the evils that they endured, programmed to be numb, programmed to be selfish, programmed to be cruel, programmed to enjoy the suffering of others. That's what it means to be a sociopath. So programmed to sociopathy and narcissism out here, big time. And to resent anyone who's out here to ask for help. They're programmed to protect the abusers and punish the wounded. Some were willingly corrupt. They thoroughly just were that way in general, and it wasn't hard to program them because they're enjoying the lies, enjoying the fact that people were being made spiritually dead and spiritually deadened. So some were just empty vessels without a remorse inside of their bodies. They couldn't show empathy or sympathy in them. There wasn't any of it. They weren't human in the old sense of the word. They had become completely something else. Shadows pretending to be people, and I call them cages. So the next chapter is the trap of false hope. In this universe, the worst part wasn't the attacks themselves. It was all the fake made help. The future faking and just the lies around, people that smile in your face but have secret intentions inside of your life while keeping me poisoned. People pretending to care long enough to get the information that they need. People who reached out when they wanted something from you and then just left you in drought. People who used your kindness as weakness, as a way of creating leverage inside of your life and having leverage over your abilities to point at you and say, "See, look how unstable he is," or "Look how unstable she is." As long as they can create that instability, they're weaponizing your loyalty. And it's people who abandoned you at your worst moments, knowing that they manufactured it and engineered it, and smiled in your face to be able to do it and get away with it. It's people who want you to think that you have the available time, energy, and resources to heal, while actually not even wanting you to. Because your suffering made them feel so powerful. They're egotistical, they're egomaniacs, egocentric, however you want to look at it. They feel powerful by shoving other people down. Much like my father. People who hated your light because it reminded them of everything that they had lost in themselves. And that's what I would relate to my brothers, because of how programmed they were by the psychopathy. Their physiology changed, their psychology changed from being anything of a normal sorts within to just being cages. So the next chapter is the breaking point that becomes the birth point. The consortium believed that if they kept you isolated, scared, exhausted, grieving, confused, sick at heart or broken-hearted, betrayed, then you would eventually just collapse. But something happened that wasn't the part of their plan. You didn't break, you awakened. And no matter how much that they did break you down and how much that did get lost in the wreckage, you still awoken to the criminology and the crimes that these people were playing about. So you started to see through the masks. You started to recognize patterns. You started to connect the dots. And you started understanding that the spiritual warfare that was being embedded in the psychological warfare as well became a spiritual attack and a way of creating spiritual warfare and proxy warfare. So you started remembering yourself before the poisons took over, and you remembered how you felt after coming back from the poisons on many levels. So this was a roller coaster inside of the life of myself and possibly others who are being poisoned to the levels of it being like a psychological thriller / horror story, but it's a real life scenario. So you started reclaiming your voice. You had to make a different choice. You had to move differently and pivot. And you had to learn how to use your voice again, like I did. So I started writing, I started speaking, I started fighting all of it. And that made me more dangerous than ever before in their eyes, because that light survives the darkness. That becomes the indestructible. And it is an indestructible force by nature, because even if they, like, in a spiritual warfare, in a spiritual sense, with there being God and with there being the light of our dear Lord and Savior, even if they kill a person in this fashion, say bombs go off in Kosovo or wherever, and they kill innocent children because they don't care about women and children, it literally still makes them indestructible, because they obviously go to heaven, while these people, I don't know if there's availability for them to repent of their sins. I hope that they do. I hope that they do fall upon their knees for all of the ways that they're creating this pain. But it's the protagonist's story here of a survival through rebellion and the spiritual warfare to end all that was being brought into their life of lies. And so it's their journey for truth. So they want to basically use these Darvo tactics: deny accountability, attack the victim, and reverse the victim and offender. When these offenders are the antagonists, they are the provocateurs, and they are the aggressors. When they're literally trying to flip that reality around and suggest that my coming out of a long-standing poisoning, for an example, I'm the aggressor because I'm so mad about not getting the help that I thought was being taught to me in schools. That if you have something going on, that you can reach out to the police, or you can reach out to people, and they're going to care, and they're going to do something about the crimes that are being permitted inside of your life. But that wasn't the case. These people were protecting the criminology. These people were protecting my rapist father. So it's to show how society is so cruel and so numb to this type of betrayal, because I believe wholeheartedly that my story, and this is something that I believe is thoroughly missed by most people, is that my story is legitimately what I would consider one of the worst stories of its type and one of the worst crimes of its type when it has to come to this espionage poisoning, control grids, and syndicates that are working up this crime against me to take out their own mission over my life instead of allowing me to live within my own body and within my own life and allow me to my own workmanship and my art, my craftsmanship, like to be able to actually get out of survival mode and get out of fight mode, because I've never been able to feign, freeze, or fawn, basically, from the crimes that have been steadily being played upon me. And so I'm just going to continue where life and people have changed, and we are in this spiritual awakening now where we are no longer in the age of information. It's an undeniable fact to the effect that has shaken the whole earth's surface, because these people are just hiding behind masks that are simply falling off now, because we were in the age of information before and we're past that. If people aren't hip to the information, what you're getting these days is overload, information overload. And it's to ensure that people don't know what to believe. And so, if you miss the age of information when it comes to the truth, then it's not that you can't find the truth, it's not that you can't still see the truth, but we're actually in the age of spiritual awakening now, where because these people still feel as if they have the right to control others' realities and do this culling of people's as realities in their lives, controlling others' relationships and income and home life, and they're just straight sociopathic, targeting the people who have the availability of themselves to answer back as a way that can be looked at as revenge, but it's not. I'm not doing this out of revenge. I'm doing this out of being able to tell my story before something really bad were to happen to me, so that just others can see that I never got a sliver of my own life. My goal is to get a sliver of my own life and get to cherish that sliver, but they're not even trying to give me that. These people are then deemed the unresponsible parties in my situation or in similar situations when those realities have been completely reversed, because they could have been something greater than they are even allowed to become with the attacks that are happening underneath the veil that these cucks hide behind. And they hide behind a plausible deniability is what it's called. And some people just don't want to even think that these things are possible, when not only are they possible, they are really happening, and it's the truth. So the fictional story, the storyline that's fictional, is actually a non-fiction. It's reality. People have been too callous about their actions towards others, and even family members, like I said, bolstering themselves up as mighty people when they aren't mighty at all. They don't care about truth and love when they're lying and hiding behind their own false image, while they're abusers, and they're denying others what we are saying out here as truth, as if they actually find enjoyment out of hurting people like they've hurt me, knowing far well that they did. They're hiding behind false personifications, false families, false doctrine, false Christianity, and just the false order that is of this world, preventing others from seeing them for who they truly are. And they've been doing this to me and others for a very, very long time, to the point where I believe wholeheartedly that some people don't even see themselves in the mirror. They look in the reflection of the mirror and they just don't even know who they are anymore. I've been there. I know how it feels. I know how it feels thoroughly, because it's like, not only are you lost up on yourself being poisoned unwittingly because of what these people are doing, but they're psychologically harassing you and creating these operations around you to gaslight your reality in the worst ways. So your mind is literally just spread completely out. You can kind of imagine your mind being a battlefield in some war, some desert storm, and just bombs are going off all over it. So your mind isn't able to be its own natural self. Your mind isn't able to have its own development at 3 years old or 7 years old or 18 years old, and so on and so forth. So it's preventing others from seeing us for who we are, and it's a huge crime against targets where I'm concerned, because it's not only about poisoning people up out of their knowledge to have their own free will in their own accord, but they wanted to place me inside of a life that's just to leave me in the most dangerous ways as possible. Like, people can really end up hurting other people when they don't know what's going on in their own realities. And I believe some of these people are really lucky with what they've done to me, because I could have easily snapped when I was at different ages of my life. And I did. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't snap, but I didn't know what was going on. It was mainly, if I could explain it, it would be like you're blind. You're literally blindfolded and you're being blindsided by all these crimes and the criminality of others, to where you're literally like fighting ghosts, or you feel like you're fighting ghosts, and you're in this pitch black reality where you're just swinging. You're swinging in the dark, and you don't know if you're gonna hit them or not, because you're so torn apart. You don't know what the fuck is going on, and you really need to figure out what's going on, and you just want to be able to swing and hit the right place and get to the right reality, so that you can open your eyes again and see, right? To actually see the abuser, see what they are, see what the person is doing, see how they're manipulating and all of that. Well, as soon as I'm able to do that, look at where the world is. Look at where the world landed. Look at what the world does. Look at what these cuckolding police do. They're like, we used to be the America that was patriotic and the land of the free and the home of the brave. All of a sudden, we're sitting here entertaining that idea while visually seeing people cuckolding the satanic movement, and these people that are cuckolding sex traffickers and traffickers and rapists and shit. And so, in my opinion, it's moved into a whole different way of having to buckle myself down. So I was trying to figure things out, and I was just literally telling these people at times, I'm gonna figure you out. I'm gonna figure this out, because this isn't right. And this was kind of more in the recent. And the truth, through what I've experienced, is I didn't like it. This world broke me down so fucking bad that I didn't know where to go from here, because not only were the cops involved in this crime against me, but there was people systematically to try and create an alternative reality for me, to then be able to put up the proposition as if they're able to hide behind that plausible deniability, and hide behind their false personifications and their false masks. So I don't care what kind of badge they wear. I don't care what kind of honor that people think that they're supporting community within. The only thing that they're supporting is a syndicate. That's it. They ain't supporting victims out here. And especially when these victims are within families of betrayers that are protected by other people who are working in other ways to deploy missions over the people's lives in this kind of fashion. I don't know exactly how to explain that to a better T, or like explain it to a better point, But it's causing people to like have to like go out here into the world and not be able to enjoy the good time and the fruitfulness that we should be able to enjoy inside of the world, and enjoy community, enjoy going to the movies, or enjoy going to concerts and things like that. Because instead of being able to find that enjoyment, people are more on edge, and we have to watch our backs at all times because people just can't be kind to people anymore. We can't even like say hi without people being all like triply quadrupled up on guards, because people are treating so many people so rude out here that you're literally starting to see people's true colors unfold online, unfold in the reality, and unfold as far as the news media is concerned. And these people are just simply wanting to get a ruse out of people sometimes. And so that's why they're working in these narcissistic ways, flipping the order of the, reversing the victim and offender, because these people are being the aggressors. So I wanted to create solutions. I at one point thought like Travis Scott, and I can't remember what song that is, but where I could literally teach people this kind of stuff, the fortitude, forthright, upright, you know, society, and be that person that could be that lifestyle coach. And I mean, I still think that I can try. But the fact of the matter is that when you're betrayed from your own, you're betrayed from people that are super duper close to you, well, it's another place to pivot. Not only did you pivot like 23 times extra in the past 2 years with just different things, work and relationships and this, that, and the other, but now you've got to pivot in ways that you can't even build for solutions out here when the real solutions are left behind these people that are like legitimately willing to utilize identity theft to pull you over, cause for you one more thing on your plate that's to set up against the real solutions that you're trying to prop up left and right. And so that again, they hide behind plausible deniability, like I've said, and they're playing up on two faces. When they are following us, they are tracking us, they know exactly our situation, and they play as if, oh, I don't know anything about this situation other than what's going on right here and right now. No, these people definitely know what's going on because they've been playing up this way to stalk us as their prey. They're not praying for us. They're literally waiting for us. They are targeting us. They're setting us up. They will go by you a number of times, but it's too often and too much for comfort to not think to yourself that these things are happening out of, I don't know, a gang stalking type of organized crime. So they're following us to hurt us. And this is the most insane thing to be played inside of the reality. It's actually what I would consider insanity. And that's what they want to reverse as well onto the people that they're doing this to, because oftentimes the victim trying to articulate what's happening in their reality, they're going to be like, they're going to speak from now, and then 12 years ago, and then 6 months ago, and 6 years ago, and then 18 years ago, and nobody is going to understand any of it because it's literally the victim trying to collect all of those thoughts, all of those placements, and be able to spit it out into two sentences for someone to believe. And what does that sound like? That sounds crazy. It sounds like crazy talk. And this is the type of Darvo tactics, along with the psychological abuse that these people play up with. Because why can't humanity establish peace already, 2025? Why can't we be allowed to work and allowed to our real, organic, natural development in relationships and work life and our social lives, our home lives. Why can't we have that peace? You see what I mean? It's literally the piece that's missing out here. Like, if we're putting together a puzzle and we're trying to put together a puzzle, it's legitimately like all of these mechanics and engineers are like making sure that they're pulling away puzzle pieces from you so that you can't get that clear picture together. You see what I mean? It's to leave you like piecing together the pieces of a puzzle that are literally in broken parts as well. Like one puzzle piece could be broken in like 18 different ways or 5 different ways, and you're literally trying to put these shards of your life back together to create a picture, a clear picture of what's been happening to you. Well, now I've actually literally did that. I don't know how I got all the pieces finally, but it was like I was watching my world play online through video after video of how these things are working to finally click. And it finally clicked that I need to not only get away from these people because they're going to continuously poison me up, but I needed to get away from these people because if I continue to allow them to know the information that I am now able to see, or at that time able to see, the attacks are going to be upped right away, and I'm not going to have any time between now and that point of the upped ante. They're going to up the ante right away if I let them know. So I was legitimately like, yeah, just playing off like I'm poisoned. I don't know what's going on. I just don't feel good, and I'm gonna, like I literally just tried to play it off for as long as I could that I was still a poisoned up victim, just to get away from these people. And I think it's super sad because it'd be like 1 or 2 or 3 orders at most, and I'd be like having to go pull up around some corner or pull in some, you know, parking ramp, or not parking ramp, but yeah, I guess parking ramps. I'd go to try and pull somewhere to be as alone as I could because I would just be bawling my eyes out because of where the abuse was coming from. And so, excuse me. It's just so harsh to try and deal with. That's all I'm going to get at. I'm going to try and leave that thought because I will cry. I just feel that humanity should be allowed to a real and organic life, a lifestyle that isn't out to control our lives and control the narrative so much that it's legitimately, if you don't see it as demonic or evil or anything of that sorts, then you must enjoy to some level the evil and demonic that's there. Because I know what these people have been doing now the entire time of my life, coercing my life through these tactics while denying accountability, that they've been attacking us and diverting us from the truth to manipulate others, reverse the victim and offender when these offenders have been thoroughly aggressive in our lives. These players are as though they are part of a huge syndicate of people, and I'm meaning a real people that can play in any place, in any way, in any position, at any time throughout a victim's life, and especially in places of that breeding ground where it's to cover their own predatorial behaviors. It's so mind-boggling because it's just freaking crazy. So in the next section, I'll be unmasking the old age information that I believe has died in our time, and it's the age of unmasking. Basically, is what we're heading into, of the spiritual awakening, and so we're just gonna be unmasking the veil that's out here with the whole domino effect that's inside of people's lives. So this is the fictional story, right? Fiction. It's fiction. It's meant to it's meant to just for entertainment purposes only, I guess. As I guess we're not allowed to speak out against these cucks. Is basically what's going on. But anyway, I'm gonna go cry, and I hope that you have a good night. Or wherever you're at.